The first images of sweets exchanged at the borders. India-China exchanged sweets at the border. Indian-Chinese troops exchanged sweets at several border points on Diwali. Troops of India and China exchanged sweets at several border points along the line of actual control on the occasion of Diwali on Thursday. The army sources said the traditional practice was observed a day after both countries completed the disengagement at two friction points at Demchok and Depsang plains in eastern Ladakh, bringing a fresh thaw in the sino-Indian ties. That's the picture that you see on your screen of sweets being exchanged at the Indo-China border at the LAC. Sweets were exchanged between members of the troops of India and China, and it took place at several border points along the LAC on the occasion of Diwali, an army source said. The exchange took place at 5 border personnel meeting points along the LAC, the sources said. I'm going to go over to my colleague Gaurav, who remains with us on the story. Gaurav, this is the first picture that we see on the screens, exchange of sweets, something that a lot of people were looking forward to.
This is a very significant move. It's a tactical move, the disengagement, but after disengagement, this is a sweetener of sorts. Diwali is the biggest festival we celebrate in our country. And in Diwali, when Indian and Chinese troops share sweets at the line of actual control, it's an opportunity for the two ground commanders, whether it's company commanders or the commanding officers, or in some instances, the brigade commanders, to get to know each other. And the Chushul-Moldo garrison, the Chushul-Moldo border point is one area where the two sides usually meet for any conversation. It's not very far from that point where the Battle of Rizangla was fought in 1962, where one company, 120 soldiers of the Indian Army, were able to, under the command of Major Shaitan Singh, who was awarded Paramveer Chakra posthumously, were able to stall the advance of an entire Chinese brigade. So, that land is sacred for us, for all Indians. That's the point where this Chushul-Moldo garrison point, border point, they have this exchange of sweets and meetings. Often they share food. The Chinese side bring their food, the Indian side takes our food, and at times an occasional drink. And there's a tradition, when you do a bottoms up in terms of getting to know each other, celebrating your camaraderie, and all of that ensures that the two commanding officers are able to get to know each other, soldiers get to know each other, and in case there's any tension, you bring those tensions down at the level of commanding officers themselves. So exchange of sweets, always a positive step. At the same time, neither India nor China can afford to let their guard down, given that India too is extremely aggressive now to ensure that China no longer indulges in salami slicing of Indian territory.
Right. Gaurav, now that disengagement is over, give us more details on the patrolling that's going to start at the LAC.
That's a very pertinent point you raise. How will patrolling happen now, and how will the two sides ensure that there isn't a repeat of a Galwan or a Pangong Tso kind of a face-off? So what the two sides are likely to do, there are several scenarios that are being worked out. Again, the government has ensured that it's kept at the level of the commanding officers and brigade commanders to work out a protocol and ensure that anything is sorted out at that level itself. What sources are telling India today, it could well be that, there are 4 weeks in a month. So 1 week, the Indian Army patrol will go to their patrolling points. The second week, the Chinese Army patrol will come up to their claim line, and each side will inform the other before a patrol is sent. Then the number of soldiers will be sent, perhaps a section plus platoon minus. So it could be anything between 10 to 15 soldiers to 20 odd soldiers. But will they be armed? How will those weapons be kept? All of that will be worked out. Weapons usually face down. Again, as a measure that it's not aimed at you, the weapon is facing down. Even there is no confrontation. The two commanding officers are informed on the other side. There is mutual verification that takes place, but this is so far restricted only to the Depsang and Demchok points. The buffer zone remains at other friction points where there was a decision taken that neither India nor China will patrol up to either the patrol point or their claim lines till the situation improves. So there'll be a very gradual process with new confidence building measures that will have to be put in place, not just in Ladakh, but all along the line of actual control.
Right. Thanks, Gaurav, for bringing in that perspective. First images that we see of sweets being exchanged on the India-China border at the line of actual control. First images of sweets exchanged at the borders. Indian and Chinese troops exchanged sweets at several border points on Diwali. Troops of India and China exchanged sweets at several border points along the LAC on the occasion of Diwali on Thursday. The traditional practice was observed a day after both countries completed the disengagement at two friction points at Demchok and Depsang plains in eastern Ladakh, bringing a fresh thaw in the sino-Indian ties.